Hey guys, welcome to our campaign countdown part 2. We're back talking about Holger the Last Viking with the creator honors the second, and we're really excited to dive into this and find out a little bit more about the world, the characters, and kind of what's going on in this comic. So without further ado, we'll do a brief introduction for those of you who didn't catch our first part, and then we'll go ahead and dive right into this comic. So, you mind introducing yourself there, Honors?
Yeah, so of course I go by Honors the Second. That's still a working name that I'm trying to decide on as far as being a writer, so it can flow better. But I currently have two comic books out. Well, one series out called Blood Ties, and then of course we're working on getting Holger out through Wicked, of course, and that's going to be on crowdfunding as well currently.
Very nice, man. And Holger is a Vikings comic. What's the plot of Holger about?
Yeah, of course. So Holger is about a individual who is the king of this Vikings, king of the Vikings on this land called Freda, and what he's trying to do is establish and maintain a peace on this land. Of course, however, it's not going to go the way that he planned. So there's a lot of things that's going to be there's going to be a lot of challenges that he faces in order to keep this island peaceful and content with living with each other. Of course, we have four factions, which is four different areas that we're going to include in this. Faction 1, of course, is the home of the North African Vikings. Faction 2, of course, is the home of the Scandinavian Vikings. Faction 3, we had to kind of like split that up and do Greenland, Iceland, and then Faction 4, we have Mediterranean Vikings. So it's like a different combination of Vikings, just a new take on it. And, of course, still paying homage to the culture while adding a bit of fantasy in there.
Which is really cool. What kind of made you decide on the different types of Vikings that you're going to use?
Yeah, so I was. It made me think of how much Vikings, because we know everything that we see about Vikings is either they're painted in a depiction of being savages and fighters, killers and murderers, rapists, whatever the case may be, and they're more is more to that than just what we see. Is what that stereotypical Viking is. Yeah, of course, some of that stuff is true, but they also love to travel. They were brilliant at traveling, and that was something that they love to do. So I wanted to kind of take that aspect and show individuals like they travel. It's been documented. They've traveled to these areas, North America. They've traveled to North Africa. They've traveled to the Mediterranean, and so forth and so forth.
That's really interesting, man.
Right.
Yeah,
Stuff that we don't know about. So I wanted to take that and what if they took individuals from these places that they've traveled and left an impression, and some individuals wanted to take up the comes from.
That's really cool, man. Yeah, I actually really like that. I don't think we really touched much on that the first go round. It's actually really interesting. It makes a lot of sense, kind of this world that you created with the descendants of these travelers who kind of went to these different places and kind of spread their culture to these new lands.
Right.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, man. And so there's four factions, and I'm actually gonna pull up the Indiegogo page. If you're watching on the video, there's the link in the chat and in the video. But let's go ahead and share the page. But so, in something that we didn't talk about in the first one as well, which is kind of the idea behind this Ragnarok tournament. And I was wondering if you can maybe tell us a little bit about what's that about and how that works.
Yeah, so as what we know, people, we know that Ragnarok is the destruction of the cosmos, and for individuals of the Viking culture, they look to these different types of gods, and some of them are named after them, but they hold that near and dear to their heart. So this tournament is named after what that event in history took place, or and for this tournament, it's literally what it sounds. It's the only tournament and the only thing that they allow, the only time they allow for bloodshed on this land, because of Quinn, this is a peaceful and a harmonistic land that they live within each other on. But however, this is how you decide who's the next king or queen of the Vikings, or the land of Freda. And what that is each faction puts up their greatest warriors, and it's like a tournament fight. They have different things that they have to accomplish. They have different stages in this tournament, and then if they all make it to the last stage, then it's a fight to the death. And it's only 4 individuals, so they have to be skilled to make it through.
Whoa, only 4, man?
Right. So
dang.
Yeah.
So okay, let me ask you this: so is it 1-on-1 or is it more like battle royale?
So how it happens is, like, say stage one, let's say that they put these four individuals, these four warriors in this, in this environment, and they have to let's say kill individuals that come in. So there's
Mm.
prisoners, of course, people who commit crimes, they are taken in as prisoners, and the prisoners have to engage into this Ragnarok. And if these prisoners survive, then they get their freedom. If they don't, then
Oh
of course
wow.
it ends in death for them. So that is a way that they give them a death sentence, pretty much. Like, you can win back
Mm.
your freedom if you kill some of the individuals that's in the four competitors that's in this tournament. So it's a double-edged sword for everybody. The individuals that are the four fighters from each faction, of course, their lives are on the line. Their literal lives are on the line. And then for the prisoners, in order for them to gain their freedom, they have to, slaughter the the four competitors.
Man, that's no joke. Uh, Man, so in the comic, then Holger's training his son Nigel to battle in this tournament.
Right. And I wanted to look at this tournament as something that, you know kids or whoever train their whole lives for. It's like the Olympics, right? We think about the Olympics. Some individuals, they train their whole lives just for the Olympics.
Mm.
And I wanted to look at it kind of just like this tournament. Some individuals have been trained their whole lives to fight for their faction in order for their faction to win, and become, the king or the queen or the rulers of this land. And that's where I wanted to go with. I wanted to show individuals or show people who are reading this book, like, this is something that they take seriously. Even though they live in harmony, people still want to be able to rule the land and make decisions for the land. You know what I mean? So that's where that
Mm.
also comes from.
Oh wow! So there's gonna be a lot of battle then going ahead into that tournament, man.
Right.
Okay, interesting. Well, what kind of made you want to do a tournament like style story for that?
Well, I mean, thinking about how this land is focused and on primarily being free, right? You want individuals to be free, and there's a ruler. However, I didn't want it to make it. I didn't want to make it where, they vote and stuff like that. What we do, and like, you got to think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, these people, they still, of course, some of them want to get back to what they know. Some of them don't want their battle skills to be, they don't want their battle sensed and savage to get dull. So training and learning and trying to and stay, I guess, on par with their skills by entering in this tournament or by training for this tournament is a way that they can keep themselves sharp. And that's why I wanted to go with a more, this is more, it's more stakes, right? If you guys want to win, you got to train your hardest. You got to be prepared to take another person's life, even though, again, this land is this land represents freedom and peace. However, in order to rule, in order to make your faction, leaders
Hmm.
of whatever this land is, then you guys have to win this tournament. And I think that it's more pressure that way and more pride for each faction, going into the tournament.
Okay,
Could you,
interesting.
kind of keeping on with the factions, could you go a little bit more in depth with some of them?
Yeah, of course. So, if we're gonna let's look at the first one, which is where Holger is from, which is faction one, which is a North African faction. And with that faction, I wanted to give each individual faction a mixture of their own culture from their motherland or their homeland mixed in with the Viking culture, right? And I'm not, again, not we're not trying to diminish or anything. It's almost like we're bringing, some of what we love into some of what, you have bestowed or what you have taught us, and we're kind of integrating it into our own culture. And that's why, if you look at some of the names on the chart or the map, there is a mixture of, of homeland names with some Viking names, and we're trying to make that, kind of similar. So, and in each faction, of course, you have the North African faction. They use, of course, Viking weapons and Viking shields. However, and of course, in their flags. However, their flags and their shield paintings and symbols are mixed with African culture. So that's kind of like how we're trying to bridge that together. So these all have their own little take of Viking culture, while of course giving paying homage and paying respect towards Scandinavians, who were the individuals that started this culture.
Very nice. And they all occupy this
Mhm.
fictional land that you created, Frida,
Mhm.
which I'm pulling up here. So which where are the territories divided, so to speak, here?
Yeah, so if you look at the lower right side, you'll see like 1.1.5, 1.1, 1.2. That is, for one, that stands for the North African faction. And then those are the little cities comprised of that. If you look in the area where it says 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, that is the faction 2. That is the Scandinavian faction. Of course, you have faction 3, which is the 3 point. So those numbers those represent what faction it is and which city that faction is.
Oh wow, that's cool. I see they're kind of all spread out, so like they kind of cluster together, and then in different areas. It looks like.
Right. They do have their land, but of course it's all one land. But we tried to give enough space for them.
Nice. So are we going to get to see different areas of the land throughout the comic?
Thank you. Yeah, and that's the plan. In book 1, you will see, and I know you can look at where it says scenes 1, 3, and 4 happen here.
Mm-hmm.
That is exactly
wow.
where the scenes take place.
That's funny.
In those cities. So
this, I'm guessing this one here is the training scene over here, the scene 2.
Exactly. So scenes 1 and then scenes 2 with scene 2, of course, that's Astrid. That is where her training station is. So you can look back at the map and then look back at the panel to get an understanding where that area is located.
Okay, interesting. That's awesome, man. Now I had a question for you, which is has Holger ever been in Ragnarok himself?
That is something that I've actually been playing with. We have I actually have a backstory kind of written, like a one shot just in my mind of where Holger comes from. And Holger has in my mind participated in Ragnarok, but before really it was a thing, he was fighting wars against other individuals on this land, right? Because if you think about it, when they first got to this land, when they first found this land, they had to be warring for territory. Although they were, they were paying homage to the culture as far as like wanted to partake in it, they still had to fight for their territory. And that's when all the individuals, each faction came up with an idea to try to live in harmony, to create this Ragnarok in order for us to get this peaceful land. And Holger was a part of that. And Holger was the individual that was spearheading that because he wanted everybody to live in harmony. He wanted everybody to be safe. So in my mind, there's a backstory that I really want to play with so you guys can understand. Holger's father is mentioned in the first issue, which his name is Halfdan. So there's things that we want to that I talked with CT with that we want to play with, and hopefully one day we can get that story out.
Nice. And you're also working on a one shot, right?
Yeah, I was thinking about hopefully one day down the road if we can get that going. But definitely a Holger one shot is nice, I feel like that is definitely needed in order to see like where he comes from. Because if we look at it, we talk about this book, Holger the Last Viking. This series, Holger is a tired old man almost. Like he's tired. He's tired of fighting. He's tired of seeing death, even though it's kind of, ironic because of the Ragnarok, but he's tired. He doesn't want to fight anymore. He doesn't want to lead anymore. He just wants to, enjoy the fruits of his labor of this world that he helped, or this land that he helped create. So that's where we see him in. It's almost like, if you think about it, God of War, right? If nobody played God of War from the PlayStation 3 era and they just jumped in the PS or the PS4, Kratos is a tired old individual, and he's seen a lot of battle. He's seen a lot of seen a lot of depth. So he's training his son, and it's like, if you think about it, like if you wanted to go back and understood why he's tired, then you go back to those other 3 games, which is kind of what we want to do with here. You're jumping in pretty much in God of War, right? You're jumping in that section. There's backstories that we want to show and what we want to tell, so people can get a sense of who this character is, who Holger is.
No, that's really interesting. Yeah, I think that'd be a really cool way to explore that character more. Now, would you say he's the central character, or is Ninjala just as important as Holger is?
Ninja is just as important, and issue 2 has already been scripted and thought out. So you're gonna see a lot more of Ninja in issue 2, even though you see a lot of them in issue 1. But it's kind of like Holger's passing the torch almost, and we want to show that transition of the torch being passed to his son. And of course, the book is still centered on Holger because that's the main character. But we also want you to see like he has so much faith and love for his son that he wants everything to go well, and you can see how he's going to be training his son pretty rigorously, and the love that he has for him and the way he glows and talks about him. But yeah, Ninjal is just as important as Holger.
No, that's pretty awesome. Yeah, actually, it's interesting. When you think of the name of the comic being Holger the Last Viking, you think he's gonna be the main, central focus.
Right.
And I do like that you have the other characters that you're really kind of focusing on as well.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Now, kind of getting back to the cultures again. How did you incorporate the individual cultures of the the different peoples, like the North African people or the Greenland, Iceland? How did you incorporate their cultures while also kind of, as you said, honoring the traditions of the original Vikings? How did you kind of balance that?
Yeah, so really just doing a lot of research and talking to other individuals who have told me like Vikings are a part of their actual their heritage, their culture, and they they give me examples of stuff that from Viking eras, like stuff that they hold near and dear to their heart. So also taking that and incorporating, let's say we started off with North Africa, because you would see the North African Vikings in this first issue a lot. So thinking about the colors, thinking about the pride that they're taking themselves, thinking about how they carry themselves and their mindset towards things, and just of course doing research and figuring out what is something like, for instance, purple is viewed as royalty in the Black culture and things to that nature. So of course the book was in color, incorporating that and showing that into their culture and into what they do, and that's pretty much it. That's pretty much how we incorporated those. As far as when we're doing the Greenland and Iceland, of course, is doing more research, reaching out to individuals who are a part of that culture, who are over there now and seeing how things were different then, is what we're currently doing for issue 2. And as far as the Mediterranean has a lot, right? It's a melting pot of everything. You have, Spanish speakers and things to that nature. So incorporating that as well, moving forward, is also what we're looking at and we're doing research on too.
Yeah, that's really cool. And it's kind of funny. It almost reminded me of I don't know if you saw the Pirates of the Caribbean movies.
Yeah.
You had all these different types of pirates. Like you had the Chinese pirates and
right.
All these different. And I always thought that, that's really interesting. I never thought of that when growing up. I always thought, pirates, they're from the Caribbean. But it's kind of fun to play around with the idea of having different, like you had with different Vikings of all different types.
Right.
It's kind of a little bit similar there. Now, where did you kind of get all this love for Vikings in the first place? Was it inspired by anything in particular?
So no, not really. I always felt like Vikings were interesting, and I wanted to do, when I did Blood Ties, because I like playing in the era of history and just figuring out how I can tell different stories. When I was deciding on doing a next series, it was either going to be a take on the Knights or a take on the Vikings.
Oh, wow.
And, I put out a tweet actually, I believe it was like maybe a year and a half ago or something. I was like, hey guys, like, my next story, what should I do? And I just put Vikings, I put Knights, and then I think I put something, I forgot what else I put, and more people voted for Vikings. So I was like, okay, I need to do more research and read up on that. And as I was doing it, I was like, yo, these are some interesting people. Like they were cool people. And when I connected with CT, he sent me a lot of articles, he sent me a lot of things to research and videos and things to that nature, and it was like, okay, yeah, I think this is the one. If anything, one story, and then then move on from it, and hopefully do Knights next or something like that. But
hey, not to step on your toes, but just throwing out a suggestion. You could do a whole arc of a Knights invasion of Frida or something.
Oh, that is true. That is true.
It could be interesting, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're playing around with history, might as well, have some fun with it, right?
Right. Connected together.
Exactly, man. You could even do both, really.
Yeah.
It's funny. Yeah, I could see that. Nice would be a good one to do next, yeah.
Yeah. I've actually been doing some research a little bit on that as well. I reached out to an individual on Twitter who actually he does like training and stuff like that, like actual knights, and he's like a thesaurus or something
Whoa.
on knights, it's all knights. And I reached out to him like, hey yo, if I do knights, like, can you guide me through this? And he was like, yeah. So that might
That's dope, dude. You're becoming the resident historical guy here. Oh man.
So, well, speaking of like different arcs, did you have any, you could say like any future plans beyond Ragnarok, or are you just more focused on Ragnarok for the time?
Oh yeah, so I'm telling you, I pray that we get to Ragnarok and above, but the book is gonna change like drastically after Ragnarok, and like it's gonna be some stuff like CT and I have already planned. Do we see it going like the way things are going to unfold? It's gonna be heavy, and I hope that we can get there. I think because issue 3 is what we plan on making Ragnarok, and I want that to be like a hefty book, because with Ragnarok, I don't feel like you should split that. What I have planned for, you shouldn't split that into two books. I would just want it to be one entire book. So there's stuff planned after Ragnarok for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Ragnarok's really, in a sense, kind of just the beginning, really.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, it seems like it.
Very nice, yeah. Yeah, it kind of does make sense. Like once if Holger becomes leader, or rather, Ninjal, if he becomes the new leader, I'm sure he's going to have a lot more to face than just that.
For sure. And I will tell you, it's not guaranteed just because.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
It's not guaranteed that he will.
Hey, his book isn't called Ninjal the Last Viking, it's called Holger the Last Viking. That's funny. But so a new thing that you kind of updated recently was the new cover that you brought out. Can you tell us a little about that?
Yeah, so I love this character. One of my favorite characters that I've created. And her name is Astrid, and Astrid is a descendant from the Scandinavian Vikings. And her mindset, she believes that the culture, or that the ability to rule freedom, belongs to her faction because they started this culture. And she's of the mindset that since we started this culture, everything should be derived from us. We should have the final say. We should tell you guys when to move. We should be able to, to pick how much territory we want, because this is our culture. We were here for pretty much like we found the sandbox first. So you guys are playing in it. We should tell you how we want you guys to play in it. So with her, this Ragnarok event is extremely, extremely important, and you will see in issue 1. She takes this seriously because, like, again, she doesn't want anybody else to rule the Vikings but herself and her faction. And regardless, she's a tough chick, tough individual. She's cunning. She has great battle sense. She has great pretty much tactical mind. She's awesome. And one of the things I really want to do as well, of course, with the Holger backstory, we're getting a little bit facetious and getting a little bit exploratory, but I hope to one day do a series just focused on her and her past, and see how she got the scar on her face, to see how she was, bred in blood for this lifestyle. And I just like her as a character. So I wanted to do a cover pretty much with her as the focus.
And does she know Holger?
She does know Holger. All of the factions, all of the leader of each little faction, they know each other. They talk. They even though the leader of the land, which is the king or queen of Frida, they still connect with the other leaders of the faction. They meet together, and they pretty much understand what's going on, what decisions are there to be made. So yeah, she knows Holger. She knows the other leaders of the factions as well. So. But that's still she does not care. She wants her faction to be the leader of it. So,
and that's gonna be at any cost,
right?
I'm gonna guess. And you really
Sounds like she might be a little blinded by her own
ambition there.
thoughts a little. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I believe this is if I'm not mistaken, I think this is Astrid. Let me go ahead and pull this up. So
Yeah.
this is a new page you put out in a recent update.
Yeah.
And I think this is showing Astrid kind of commanding her troops, perhaps, maybe.
Yeah. So, oh yeah, of course. So, the new page that we put up, this is the beginning to scene 2, as you will see in the if you look on the map, of course, they will be able to. This is her observing her training and how everything's going with her individuals that she wants to put up for Ragnarok. And she wants, of course, from this scene, she wants to test how skilled they really are. So, of course, we don't have the pages, but she fights like all the individuals that she's seen training in the middle panel. She takes all of them on at one time, and it's a pretty dope fight scene. So I can't wait till they see the turnout to that.
That's gonna be awesome, man. That's excellent. Yeah, this page looks really good. We talked about it last time, but CT's art is just amazing.
Right.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, he definitely deserves the credit. He's also working on a few more projects that are going up for Kickstarter and things to that nature too, entering into contests and stuff like that. So he has a lot of good stuff that's going on. I think he also has a project on Webtoons as well. But I believe it's called a Prince Chef, and that's really good too. It's like a slice of life book, and that's really, really good too. So he's doing a lot of good stuff.
Now, have you ever thought about maybe once this gets crowdfunded and stuff? Is this going to be something you guys can get in time for the manga awards?
I don't know actually. I actually haven't heard about that at all. So I mean, of course, I will look into it, but
yeah,
we'll definitely see.
It's I think it's till end of, I want to say, September or November or something like that.
Okay.
So I know it's coming up soon, so it'd be close. But they also have other competitions they do on there, so yeah, it'd be kind of cool.
Okay.
I definitely feel like it would be a good fit for it.
Yeah. I mean, it has the art style for it and everything too, so I think
right.
I'll definitely look into it.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, I'm not sure if we asked this last time, but how'd you kind of start working with CT in the first place?
So Twitter is an amazing place. That's how I found my artist for Blood Ties as well as CT. I think one day I was actually at the airport picking up my brother, and I was just scrolling on Twitter because I needed to find an artist as far as Schizomi, and then I found them on Twitter. So again, months later, when I wanted to work with a new artist on this project, I seen CT's art. I think it got retweeted on my timeline or something, and then I went through his page and was looking. I was like, "Yo, this guy's art is crazy! Like, I want to make something for his art." And that's when I hit him. Yeah, that's when I hit him up and was like, "Yo, I love your art. And one day I want to work with you on some stuff, but right now I just can't. So just please, like, any information you have to become a better writer, please let me know." And we kind of developed like that working relationship.
Cool.
And then when the time permitted itself, I was like, "All right, let's do this. Like, can we start something?" So that's kind of where how I met him and how we got it going.
It's funny. That's the exact same reaction I had when I first saw his art. I was like, "Man, I'd love to work with this guy on a project."
Right. Right.
Yeah, he has that amazing manga aesthetic.
Right.
That is so hard to nail sometimes, I feel like.
Yeah, and you can tell he reads. I think one of his favorite mangas is Vagabond, and I've read
nice.
chapters. So he works, man. Like his stuff is really, really good. And the thing that I like him too, like a lot of artists don't really understand or don't really pay attention to it. But if you look at Holger the Last Viking, you look at, of course, the African Vikings there, and then if you go to, let's say, Astrid's little picture, and you look at her, and you look at her and way she's set up, the textures of the hair, right? A lot of individuals don't pay attention to that. Like, not everybody has the same hair, and he gets the ethnic hair, the ethnicity, and how it looks and how the texture should be, and that's what I appreciate from him as well. And he really cool. Draws that stuff. So
that's pretty amazing. All the different styles of hair that we can see here too.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just the hair too. It's everything. Like with he does really good texture on everything. Honestly,
Right. Right.
which is awesome to see. Yeah. Here's another example. Actually, here's more of the
Right.
Scandinavian Vikings, right?
Right. And you can definitely see the different textures
Mm-hmm.
of their hair and the way that they look. So it's a lot of detail that's being paid into this. And of course, when we get ready to get the Mediterranean Vikings and the Greenland Iceland Vikings, you'll definitely see the difference in them as well. I'm almost sure. So we want each and every faction to have their different feel, and that's definitely what we're showing between faction 1 and faction 2 for this one.
I see. So we're just gonna be kind of introduce the first two factions at first glance.
Right. And then faction 2, I mean in issue 2, you'll see the faction 3 and faction 4. So and you'll see their introduction and how they are as well.
Okay, nice. Yeah, that'll be pretty exciting.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I mean, even the way that you have it pretty much in more of a numerical system for the factions, it kind of helps out because where their cultures are very vast, most cultures understand the concept of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and like different numbers and the different symbols for them. So that's a pretty good way, especially keeping it more, I would say, like medieval times, probably early Renaissance, it seems.
Right.
Right. Yeah. What's the era roughly? Would you say?
This is, let's say, after the Viking culture. This is maybe a few years so after, maybe 5 to 10 years.
Okay.
After the whole Vikings are the end of the Viking era, pretty much.
And then, can what was that, like the 16th century? I'm not too familiar with that kind of stuff myself, honestly.
I believe so. I think it was like
it's almost it's almost I believe 1066 is like the Viking age, and that's when it ended. So it's
Okay.
so a little bit after 1066, right? Because the start of it, I believe, was around 793 to 1066. So after that is when that period
in history then.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, that is really cool. I love that you're playing with the history that way.
Yeah, because I mean, of course, again, we tell people this is fantasy. We do have to set it in a certain time period because so you can get, I guess, an understanding of like how it is and where it is. But that is where we decided to go, right? And that's one of the reasons why you will see a prominent character, Trigriff, who wants people to, hey, Vikings aren't going away. We aren't dead. Like, we're here still, and that's why he wants to kind of get up out of this land and try to do more.
Does he want to start invading other lands?
Precisely, exactly.
Oh,
he wants to get back to it, right? Because he's bored, so he wants to do more stuff.
He's like, we're Vikings. Come on, let's do what we always do,
right?
Or we used to do, at least.
Right.
Well, not only that, it helps bring fear so that this way nobody tries to come and invade you.
And he wants people to know who they are. Like, they're the Vikings. They don't have to hide.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I can really see that as that character. Yeah, that's awesome, man. Now, can you tell us maybe a little bit about Ninjal as a character?
Yeah, so Ninjal is he's pretty much a prodigy in his own way. He's intellectual. He's very intelligent, right? He's intellectually advanced, more than a lot of kids his age. Holger and Traga says in issue 1 that his fighting skills are to the level of a chieftain or a ruler or a leader in each faction. His fighting skills are there, as well as his mind, his tactical sense, his battle sense is there. He's just young, naive right now, and just he has to try to navigate through that. One of Ninjal's problems is he wants to feel accepted, and he wants to make his father happy, but again, while being accepted by his peers and even the individuals that's older than him. So as a character, he has a lot going on. He's pretty much like, like a normal teenager thinking like, yeah, will people like me? Like, I know I might be good, but will they like me? And that's pretty much what his mindset is.
Okay, so he's got a lot on his plate, more so than just Ragnarok right now.
Right.
He's got the usual kind of issues that someone his age might have.
Exactly, and I mean, again, he's going to be participating in Ragnarok, but you will see in the story why that is definitely frowned upon for him to do so.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Most definitely.
Oh wow. So is that something that you kind of keep in the want to maybe keep for the comic to be revealed?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Fair enough. Oh, that's funny. Oh, that's interesting. I kind of like that. That sounds really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm kind of thinking of what it could possibly be, but without reading the first comic, I
no, that's
no
saying we don't know the backstory. Offhand, I would say maybe he's too young, but we'll have to see what the backstory and the comic itself brings.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now, have the other 3 participants already been chosen at this time, or is that something that's also kind of going to be revealed?
So in this book, you will see the participant for faction 2 being chosen to lead the Scandinavian Vikings. And I would say that participant is almost as cutthroat as Astrid. He's definitely Astrid is definitely going to instill him, hey, no matter the cost, get it done. Like, I don't care what happens. And he's gonna take that mindset and and you will see why he is chosen to be their participant. And of course, in issue 2, you will definitely see the remaining 2 being chose to pretty much lead their faction in the Ragnarok tournament.
Wow, yeah, that's pretty awesome. It's funny because I was thinking Astrid would be the one to do it, but you're saying it's gonna be someone else who's maybe even
normally the chieftains or the leaders of the factions don't enter in Ragnarok. In order for it to be
Holger, right?
Right. It's really for the younger generation to participate.
Makes sense, yeah.
Because one of the reasons is, like, I mean, it's sad to say they're expendable, right? Because if your chieftain dies, that's a big hit. So you train your younger individuals or your younger warriors up to learn how to fight and things to that nature. So they can participate in there.
And so is being the leader, the king or queen of Freed, is that like a lifetime position?
No, it happens every decade. So they change them out, even though it's different. I know for the US we have like 4 terms, but for Frida there's decades. So and that's why it's such a big deal to win, because you're going to be a ruler for an extended
yeah. And so it sounds like then they don't get to rerun. Like you're leader once and that's it.
Right. So and most of the time, I mean, it's a long time, so they want to pass that off anyway. So again, Holger's decade is coming to a he's tired. So it's
he's ready for that decade to be over, man.
Right.
Oh man, that's wild. Yeah. And so, you talked a little bit about how when Holger first came to Frida, or when when it was earlier in his life, there was a lot of war, there was a lot of turmoil.
Mm-hmm.
And Ragnarok wasn't this thing that it is today.
Right.
What Ragnarok is this? Is it like the 3rd annual Ragnarok? Do you have a number that you thought of there?
I haven't thought about it yet. Of course, it'll definitely make sense when we hammer it down and do Holger's backstory. But right now, again, Holger, he has participated in his form of Ragnarok, whatever version that was, but he's also participated in wars. So, raiding and trading and fighting with the other factions, fighting for land, fighting for peace, fighting for the will to stay alive. Because again, all these Vikings got moved to one area Freda didn't have, cities named. They didn't have, sections with each other. It was like, all right, this is our space. We have to fight to claim this space and blah, 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 and this, that, and the other. And then it was like, okay, now it's time to, we might want to set up some peace and set up some areas and things to that nature. So again, once we get that, once we start to hammer that backstory out, it'll definitely make sense of what Ragnarok version this is.
Okay. Yeah, because I feel like that definitely would be a big part of it.
Right.
Like how much experience do these people have with this? Something still kind of fresh and stuff.
Right.
I hope you don't mind the analogy, but it almost reminds me of The Purge.
No.
It's like, yeah. It's like right, okay, because I was thinking that made me think of that. Like,
and you gotta think as well. So, like, let's say like the first stage to Ragnarok is, navigating through an obstacle course while dodging arrows from so and things of that nature. And the individuals who are trying to pretty much eliminate the 4 contestants are prisoners. They've been prisoners for a decade just for this Ragnarok. So they definitely want to get out. You know what I'm saying? So it's a high risk, high reward for them. They can continue to stay prisoners or they can try to fight for their lives on the line. So I think that's one of the most interesting pieces to me of Ragnarok is not only the participants, not only what's at stake, but the prisoners who, if they want, they can participate and try to kill them in order to survive or in order to get their sentence reduced or released, or they can die. So either or. So that's one of the most interesting pieces.
Yeah, it's wild. It's almost like so not only do these participants in Ragnarok have each other to face, but they have all these other obstacles, all these other enemies.
Exactly, and you know that these prisoners are going to be extra motivated into into doing some harm.
And they've also been thinking about this for nothing but a decade themselves. So you'd imagine they've been training themselves for this moment.
Correct. Right.
So yeah, that's wild. Now, what kind of a terrain is this going to be on it? Are there going to be different type of? Is it like an arena deal? Is it like all over the place?
Yeah, it's like an arena deal. They will definitely have different things that they have to maneuver to, but it's like that arena type thing.
Wow.
Yeah. So I hope that when we get to issue 3, this will be like a really crazy all out action book. And again, when we're talking about Vikings, one of the things that we think of is action. And this book doesn't have too much action scenes in it because I wanted to focus on, certain things. I wanted to focus on their daily lives and what they're going through, how they're thinking, how they can maneuver against certain things and not just, fighting. But we definitely wanted to manage, like, once you see action scenes, we didn't want to waste them. So you will see that there is some pretty good action scenes, and they're just not for throwing action out there. They're actually to help progress the story.
Yeah, I think that was a pretty interesting idea to make it into a kind of more of an arena.
Right.
It pushes the action, pushes everyone together, and it really forces the action to go a lot faster, I would feel like.
Right.
Which is like, as a reader, I would be excited to read that because I don't know, it just feels like the pace would be a lot better that way.
Yeah.
Not only that, there's probably a few more dynamic viewings or angles that you could probably use while it's settled inside of an arena and everything doesn't look all jumbled, or you're trying to guess what's like, how is this all going down?
Right.
It's very clear what's happening. Like, there's the stage presented and then the 2 fighters and they go at it. There's not all this other like background stuff like trees or whatever have you.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. So 1-on-1 fights, I take it, right?
Yeah. You'll definitely see that like the 1-on-1 fights in the Ragnarok is like the final stage. Like whoever is left is an all-out battle.
Oh, okay,
right?
Yeah, because it's all gonna. So
right.
it's kind of more like battle royale and then 1-on-1.
Right. So I mean, you make it through these stages. If it's one person left, hey, you win. You don't have to fight against anybody. If it's 3 people left, you all 3 have to fight.
Oh damn.
So, yeah.
And obviously the final battle is probably reserved for the participants, not for the prisoners.
Right. So whatever prisoners are still alive when it gets to the final battle, you guys are free to go.
Nice.
But whatever prisoners are dead, then hey, that's the end of your life.
That's how it goes. Damn, dude, that's wild. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny we didn't talk about. I don't think we talked about any of this in the last episode of the
No.
show, which is wild. Like I can't even believe we didn't touch on this at all. Oh man, that's funny. No, it really is interesting because it kind of I feel like it does set your book apart, from a lot of others.
Yeah, I mean, and again, like for me, I'm just trying to tell a different story, something that people will enjoy reading, something that is really not in the market. You definitely see a lot of Viking comics, and I think that they all look good, but I just wanted to do something a little bit different, and tell a different story.
Are there any Vikings media that you kind of like or have been inspired by at all?
Honestly, really not really. There hasn't been anything. I know a lot of people say, they ask me, have I read I think it's like Vinland Saga
Oh yeah. Oh, that's an interesting idea.
the Viking shows, and I honestly don't watch that stuff, and I didn't watch that stuff to get information from here because I knew not a lot of it is accurate.
You're more of, I was gonna say you're more of a research guy than
Exactly. Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
And when it comes to of course, my era that I love is feudal Japanese. I don't watch shows and things like that to get the history.
Right. Neither do I. Now that I think about it, yeah. When we write Project R for Rome, I go to the history books myself.
Right.
Yeah, I totally get that. Yeah. In a lot of ways, it's even more interesting than what you would see in a show anyway.
Yeah, history is always more fascinating than most people really understand. When we were researching stuff for Project R and learning about Julius Caesar, I always go to the story where he basically got kidnapped by pirates and ended up telling him hey, this is fine and everything, but I'm going to be let go, and when I come back, I'm going to kill you. And they start laughing at him. They party with him. Little did they know, I think it was a month or two later of Roman time, they were dead because he did exactly what he said. And I just look at it damn, that's some balls right there.
Yeah, you don't mess with Julius Caesar, that's for sure, man.
Nah, dude, it seems like you don't, dude.
I would say what's crazy is I think what really got me interested in history and doing stuff in there. I remember when I was in high school, learning about Alexander the Great was I was like, yo, this dude had
that's my jam right there.
I mean, he has some cojones. This guy did not.
He conquered the world before the age of 30.
Exactly. And his only downfall was that he got greedy too fast. That was it. And that's what did him in. But other than that, as far as being a brilliant guy, and this he was dope. So learning about that stuff was all right, I love history. I got to do some more research.
Yeah, no, even his whole story is a little weird because I kind of feel like they deified him a little bit in history, especially his origins, his mom being the daughter of Pythagoras, and then his father being the king Philip II and all that, and just going through everything, and her saying that he's actually the son of Zeus and this and that. And I was just reading it this is highly fascinating. And then
sorry,
man. No, sorry, I'm kind of geeking out a little bit.
No, it's okay. It's just too funny. It kind of reminds me because you also write a comic called Blood Ties. And that also has that kind of a prominent historical figure, which in that one is Oda Nobunaga. And so, kind of what made you want to do something like that?
Yeah, so I always wanted to do a ninja story because I was kind of tired of not really finding anything realistically as far as realistic ninjas and depictions. And of course, Blood Ties have a little bit of a little a fantasy element in there as well, but I wanted to see more ninja versus samurai type stuff, right? Because of course we have Naruto and all the other stuff, and it's where's the stories that I really want to hear about? Where's the actual these are ninjas rather than hey, these are people who can be considered as ninja. And for Blood Ties, what I wanted to get at is the Oda Nobunaga, when he was ruler, and when he was, the shogun, this guy was ruthless, right? Like he was a terrible guy, but there was also some things where I just didn't understand, where he allowed an African samurai into his ranks, and it was like, well, from what I know about few people in Japanese, like they didn't like foreigners. He bought and sold from things from Westerners. It was like they didn't believe in doing that type of stuff, and it was like
He was the first real shogun to start using actual musket. Yeah,
exactly. And it's like he did whatever he could to win. And for this series, I wanted to kind of get in behind and show a different side of him, as well as focusing on a creative character that's been in my head for years. So
yeah, that's pretty cool. And for those of you who don't know, the first 3 issues are actually available in digital on Wicked's publishing store, so you can go pick those up or check those out. I'm gonna go ahead and drop the link in the chat.
And we also have a Blood Ties one shot that's supposed to be coming out by the end of this year, and Schizomi has been working on it, and he's been sending me pictures, and I will say this is like one of the best works yet for Blood Ties. It's gonna be really, really good.
Just saying something, because it honestly, I feel like every issue gets better already.
Yeah, I feel like I get better with each issue too, because it's just reading and understanding other stuff and learning how others write and asking questions. And with this one shot coming up, I'm excited. I will say, I don't know if anybody has read Spider-Man when he fought against Morbius, and that type of fight is definitely what inspired this upcoming one shot.
Oh really? Yeah, we only talked about last time, I know, but you're a big Spider-Man fan, so
huge. So yeah.
Oh man, that's funny. And I'm sure you're excited about him coming to that Avengers game.
Oh yes, sir. That's when I would get it. That's when I would buy it.
So I really wanted to kind of talking a little about Oda Nobunaga and how you put him into your comic. I was actually really curious if you had any plans to bring any historical figures into Holger.
No, I think Holger might be like his own little standalone thing, and might be his own thing. I do like the idea that you propose with the Knights on. That'd be a way to kind of get my story out there, to get my other Knight story out there and bridge that gap. But I definitely it's just this own own little thing. Hopefully we can get this done. And it's no real historical figures. You will hear certain names of Greek guys that you of course, I mean, you will hear names of certain guys that you would know, but that's where we're definitely get to. I can't wait for it to be shown, pretty much. Or Norse guys, said Greek.
Right. So is this like a fantastical world where things like that can happen, or is this more of a grounded world that you're?
Yeah, this is like no powers involved, no extraordinary abilities, just regular humans who are of course doing the daily thing. As far as like you think of Vikings, like I know there's different takes on them, and these are just regular individuals, right? So no powers, no special abilities, just a grounded story of a man trying to keep peace, which is of course is not as easy as it may seem.
Especially when you have so many different people with so many different ideas of what should be done, and with the and who should lead and whatnot. So it definitely makes a complicated situation.
Right.
Now, while Holger's and the rest of the Vikings are kind of isolated on their own continent, I guess you could call it.
Right.
What's kind of going on with the rest of the world?
So the rest of the world is, it kind of just it carries on. It's like this is like a little wrinkle in time. Let's say we're dropping this in history, although it's fantasy. We're just dropping this in there. The rest of the world is moving on. They're fine. There's no more Vikings. The Vikings have pretty much integrated. They have taken up in real life. They've taken up Christianity, Catholicism, you know what I'm saying? Different types of things. And it's just, the world is just moving, right? There's really nothing outside that the story that I want to tell, but on this island, and this is all we're focusing on.
So there's probably no storyline down the road where like people from the outside discover the land or anything like that. It's really focused on the characters that are on the land itself.
Right, for this period, yes. However, again, like I said, Trigriff, you will see him like, hey, we'll tell Holger like, hey man, it's time. We need to go. So
So it could be something for future storylines, perhaps. If they want to try and branch out, maybe.
exactly.
Oh wow, okay, yeah, that's pretty awesome, man. Yeah. Wow, yeah, it's really interesting. You've kind of created your own unique world. It's a little different from how you did with Blood Ties, in that you're instead of using a real location with a little bit of your own influences on the history of things. In this one, you're taking the real history and then creating your own world with it.
Yeah, man. And to be honest, it might not sound like a lot, like it's created an island and stuff like that. World building for this book was like when we finished and when I got issue 1 scripted and gave to CT for him to illustrate, I was tired. Like I didn't do anything for the next week or so because it was a lot of mental work coming up with certain names, coming up with like symbols, coming up with like, of course, doing the research, why the names made sense, what freedom meant. Like it was just like, yo, it's a lot of work going into it. What Holger means, like Holger is the individual that holds the spear, and that's one of his weapons of choice, right? So each name has a meaning and it meant something. It was like, yo, I'm tired. Like, you know what I
mean? Yeah, I guess is that something that you didn't necessarily put into with Blood Ties?
No, yeah. So Blood Ties, of course, it was different. Like the only thing that I really had to create for Blood Ties was a different ninja clan, and the way they carry themselves, their clan system, that type of stuff. But other than that, that was pretty much it. It wasn't too much. Building. And Blood Ties. I remember I tried to start that while I was an undergrad. Like I've been trying to get that idea off the ground. And Blood Ties, it was never. When I originally created it, it was never centered in feudal Japanese. It was centered in modern time. It was like modern. But as time goes on and my interest started to change, I really found a love for feudal Japanese, and that's when everything kind of came to fruition.
Yeah, I love that, man. That you're bringing your passion into it like that. It's interesting. It's funny. I can't imagine a Blood Ties in the modern day. Like, man, that would be such a different story.
It definitely would be.
Probably Oda Nobunaga there.
Right.
I can't even say his name. Well, that's really interesting. So let me go ahead and share the link out again for the Indiegogo. So the campaign, I believe, has 15 days left. Is that right?
Yeah, 15.
And you guys are so close to the goal, man.
Yeah, man. I think we're like we're almost down to the 300 mark. So it's cutting close. So definitely, I got individuals that say they're definitely going to back sooner or later. So we're on time.
Nice, man. Yeah, and do you have any plans for more streams, anything like that?
Yeah, actually, I do have a couple of streams coming up. I actually did a stream. It was like kind of like last minute it was on Come Get Some. And I had a couple of backers from there. So,
nice,
yeah, we're definitely hitting people up. Hey, can I come on your stream? Hey, do you want to check out my book? So it's been moving.
That's great. Have you been on a stream with Cody yet?
I don't think so. I've been on Inside the Mines. I've been on that a couple of times
with Chuck and Bob over there.
Yeah.
Very nice, man. Yeah, those are great guys. They're really, really cool. And yeah, I bet Cody would be down to do a stream for you if you're interested. So hit him up, man.
Yeah, you let Cody know, like, hey.
Oh yeah, I'll let him know, man. Yeah. Nice, man. Well, let's see. As I said, it has about 15 days left. There's about $300 to go.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure you guys will be able to hit that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you guys are going to make it. But heaven forbid, do you guys have backup plans, anything like that, in case heaven forbid that does happen?
I do not. I think I definitely started to push that panic button with the last weekend, start coming up with some stuff what we should do. Because I mean, again, like for me to be a relatively new writer and to raise almost $1,200 is definitely good in my eyes. But yeah. I just really want this book to get out. We got 61 backers, so I'm pretty sure this was a learning curve. So when we do Holger, the Last Viking, issue 2, I'll definitely pull out the stops and have some more goodies and higher price points for people to back.
Well, I definitely think you're very close, and I'm pretty sure with 15 days left, you guys should be able to make it. There's always a big push at the end anyway, so yeah, I wouldn't start sweating too much just yet.
Right.
But it's been great talking with you. I actually learned a lot more about the comic than I thought I was going to learn, which is always
definitely perfect.
Yeah, it's always something I enjoy when I get to do that. And so with the Ragnarok coming up, it seems like the comic's gonna be full of action and a lot of really great characters. We're gonna see a little bit more about Ninjal and Holger and how their relationship is developed. And so yeah, I think it's gonna be awesome. And so I'm we'll say a whole congratulations for once it reaches that goal. But I think you guys are doing something amazing here. So definitely should be proud of yourselves, man.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. And hopefully next time we do this, we'll be funded and we'll just be talking about just chilling.
Yeah, we also have CT on sometime too to talk about how his side of the art works and stuff.
Oh, for sure. I'll definitely hit him up and see when he's free so we can do something again.
Yeah, man. Awesome. Well, is there anything you want to say out to the people who maybe haven't backed your book yet, or kind of hesitant, or still thinking about it, or just on the just on the edge there?
I would definitely say to the individuals that haven't backed yet, like, do so. This is the second 30-day stint, so after this, that's it. And I honestly don't foresee it, going elsewhere at other platforms, but we'll see. I hope you guys do back in. I think it's a great story. Just give it a chance. Like, that's really all I can say. Just give it a chance.
Yeah, dude. Please do. As I've said, I just love the world, and I've had a chance to read a little bit of it already, and it's just really awesome. So we're very excited about it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thanks again. I appreciate it, Honors, and everyone who watching the chat. Thank you, and if you're watching on the replay, we appreciate that as well. And hit up that link, go check it out, and pick a tier for you. There's a bunch of cool stuff. They just released the new new cover, so yeah, you can get the variant cover as well. And it's pretty awesome stuff there. So please go check it out and check out all the Vikings goodness. And we will see you on another stream.